Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film After Earth. A father-son team who are traveling in the future, 1,000 years in the future, and they're on a mission to another planet for training, and then they hit an asteroid field. Their ship does, that has a lot of other people, but the ship crashes, and conveniently the only two to live are this father-son team, played by Will Smith and his son Jaden Smith. Will Smith, who's an incredible, amazing, awesome warrior, of course he's Will Smith, named Cypher Rage, which is like the most memorable and also laughable character name I've heard this summer. They crash land on Earth, and conveniently they are the only two left alive. Will Smith's character Cypher Rage has had both his legs broken, and so Jaden Smith, whose name is Kata, has to go off and find the homing beacon, which is 60 miles away. Someone can pick them up and take them home from this planet they have crash landed on, which is actually Earth, and he has to deal with all these animals who have evolved to be super animals that can kill humans and such. And so he has to make his way to this beacon and survive on the way there. This film is kind of ambitious, and it's not your typical summer movie. The typical summer movie now, there's a lot of camera movement, they're always cutting on action, they're always shot in a very exciting way. I think Star Trek Into Darkness is the best example of that, or both those J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. And there's a whole theory behind them that people are running, that the camera's always moving, and it's always exciting. And After Earth, the camera's very still. There's a lot of parts of the film that are very silent. It's not really fun, but it's not meant to be fun. It's not meant to be funny. You're not getting your Will Smith smart alecky performance in this. So in a lot of ways, it is actually ambitious, and it's trying to be like a quieter, like 70s sci-fi movie, much like Oblivion, which came out earlier. The ambition that they took to make a strange movie like this wasn't reflected in the direction or the acting or the CG or the writing or really anything. If you really had good direction and you had all the elements there, I think the concept of this and the core of this could have been something a lot more promising and interesting to an audience. And even though it's very anti what the rest of the summer movies are, it kind of fails under its own ambition because no one else who's involved in the movie had that ambitiousness that the idea and the way they shot the movie was. M. Night Shyamalan, who has really kind of fallen apart as a director. I didn't love him in The Sixth Sense or Unbreakable. They're not my favorite movies, but there's a real strong director presence in those films. Even if the films are just lame, clever tricks, they're at least semi-clever. I don't know why he thinks he can take on these big sci-fi movies. I wish he would just do like a thriller again with a lame twist. Will Smith doesn't do a lot of different kinds of films. He does his Will Smith roles, and then he does his Oscar bait stuff, and this is different from that. He doesn't really flex his acting muscle that much, and he definitely is taking on a different role, but it's like he took a page from the Natalie Portman in episode 1 School of Acting, where, oh, we're in the future so people don't have as much emotions and they talk different. It's just bad acting. I don't know who came up with that theory. It just makes them look inhuman. It makes them harder to relate to, and Will Smith's character is almost overbearing on this movie. This film, it has all this setup, and the ship crashes, and we learn about this world. The way they set up the world in this film, having Jaden Smith, who isn't a very good actor in this film at least. I thought he had way more charisma in that crappy Karate Kid movie, which isn't saying much. They try to do some visual storytelling, but they really let the voiceover do all the work because the visuals are fairly lame. And then you get to when the ship crashes and Will Smith's like instructing him throughout the whole film. And there's a lot of times where, like, I understand Will Smith's a big movie star and Jaden Smith's not the movie star his dad is, but they kept putting Will Smith in, like, cutting back to him. It's almost hard to like go with his journey because you're having to cut back to Will Smith sitting in a chair going like, ow, my legs hurt. At a certain point he loses comlink with his dad, and you think, oh, well, we're not going to see Will Smith till like the end. That would be the better route to take, but they don't do that. They keep cutting to him, and it's like he's like bringing down the movie. It's like we have to have Will Smith in a lot of the movie because he's Will Smith. It didn't feel like it was really necessary, you know, to keep cutting back to Will Smith sitting in a chair. I kind of think it's halfway like, well, Will Smith is a big movie star, you have to have him in a lot of it, and that Jaden Smith was not very good in this film. I didn't mind his kind of whiny teenage persona at the beginning of the film because it's like, okay, that's part of the thing, that he's not really a man, that he's going to grow up throughout this film, but he doesn't really lose that. He just didn't have much presence to him, and he didn't really get into the physicality of the role. It wasn't a very good performance, but it's also not directed in a way to give it a good performance, to just leave him alone. And every time we're cutting back to Will Smith at a certain point, we're just ruining his arc. This is like one of the crappiest versions of the future I've ever seen. Apparently we're really into electronic cloth. It looked like they got a really good deal on white sheets at IKEA, because apparently like the whole future has a lot of white sheets, and the future just looked like crappy. They had these utensils to eat and they just looked like 3 chopsticks taped together. The CGI in this film was really bad. Like, it looked like 5 years ago's CG. You have this After Earth idea, like we're gone from Earth, so these animals have evolved, and the animals didn't look that cool. I can tell throughout the entire film what's CG and what's not. There's a certain point where Jaden Smith's sitting on a cliff and he's looking out onto Earth, and you can tell he's standing in front of a blue screen or a green screen, whichever. You have this kid by himself in this futuristic planet. It's not a bad idea. I mean, Will Smith came up with the story. It's actually not a bad film idea. You know, it's kind of a cool concept, to be honest, despite those stupid names. It wasn't enjoyable or entertaining or anything, but like, there's a bit of it artistically that I go, okay, kind of see where you're going with this, and I semi-respect it, because a lot of major movie stars and major directors wouldn't do something like this. But I kind of prefer if they had made a movie that worked. If you're interested in After Earth and you haven't seen Oblivion, just see Oblivion, because Oblivion is actually entertaining and fun, and this isn't an audience-friendly movie, really. I mean, it's a no-one-friendly movie because it's not good. So if you have seen After Earth and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.